United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gonna do a roll present today is Carlos Morelli, Maria Lopez, Robert Lewis, Haley Lawrence, Ed Moore, David Ruth, and Paul Leobrand. Is there anyone in the audience that has any public comments?
Maybe. How about now? Give it a test now.
Now it should be.
Testing, can anybody hear me? All right. So we're gonna open the floor for public comments. Everybody filled out their cards who wants to make a comment, and we're gonna have 3 minutes for each individual to make their comments. You want to call them out for,
Well, there's two times that you can ask questions. Now is one, and then the presentation will take place, and then you can come up and ask questions again.
you
presentation.
want to wait for the end? Okay, so we'll skip. Okay. Does anyone want to make a comment now before the presentation? So that's no? Okay. All right. So we're gonna make an approval for the minutes from January 2nd's meeting. Anybody,
I motion to, everybody read them, right?
I second.
I motion to approve.
I second. Anyone not agree? No? That's right, okay. Financial reports the same as last?
Yes.
All right, nothing's changed with that. There's items for discussion. We had a couple of emails that came in. Right? I think all those should be tabled until way into the future. They have nothing, this is all conceptual right now. The comments about the pickleball leagues, I mean, that's way
I agree.
in the future. All right,
I think it's great to start building the contacts though, so that.
oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. They'll definitely be on the list of people to reach out to, but that's a couple years away. All right, so just a brief overview. This committee was created last year by the Board of Supervisors. A lot of these initiatives came up from budgeting from last year from the Board of Supervisors. We've had a lot of these discussions throughout the months. And basically you guys are able to come to every meeting. They're usually held on a Tuesday, once a month at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Basically, the purpose of this committee is to basically just get some improvements to the Parks and Rec for Gateway. We worked on improvements to the fun park so far. Next year, the administrative building is going to be under construction. That's going to be phase 1. This hopefully will be phase 2.
Okay.
And yeah, we've made some suggestions to move the dog park from where it is now to where the fun park is. So we'll be talking about that later. And basically at 30%, 60%, and 90% of the design phase, we'll be having updated reviews of everything. And all of that is open to the public. So now we'll start the presentation.
Turn their mic off.
People on Zoom that is not muted.
Somebody needs to turn their mic off. Well, we should be.
I keep muting them all and they keep on. We'll bear with that. For the folks online, please make sure you're muted. If you come off of muted before you're able to talk, I'll have to mute everybody again. While we're getting this slideshow set up, please, now's the time just to say if you have your phones on, please silence them. That way we continue with the forum as planned. Go, Carlo.
Set it up, slideshow. What was supposed to say for?
Okay, my name is Carrie Runyon. I'm a Parks and Recreation Supervisor here at Gateway. And I'm going to kind of go over the slideshow for you all. So if you let me get through the slideshow, and then that's when you have public comment for questions, okay? All right. First of all, we're going to items for discussion are Parks and Recreation update presentation, the 2023-24 events, playground concept, dog park in the future, Gateway Commons Park approved phase 1 concept plan, and then the survey. And you'll see some survey information around the room. If you go on there and you click on with your phone, you're more than welcome to take a survey. Okay. All right, so 2023-24 events. We have 3 here. Fishing Derby, one is next month, March 9th. We have Winterfest, which we just had in December. It was a great event. It was very, the kids enjoyed it. That was the most important thing. And families, we had a lot of families and kids out here. Then there's supposed to be an egg event or an Easter event in March, a Memorial Day tribute flag in May, Independence Day into June, 1st of July, Labor Day, say in September, Halloween portraits, which is at the dog park, and then Taste of Gateway to be announced. Some of the items that to kind of go over some of the events. This was a youth fishing derby. Some of the pictures from 2023. We do this at the Sherman Commons Pool, that little lake out there. We get anywhere from 30 to 50 participants. And it's a great event for the youth. They really love to go. The kids that love to go fishing, this is a great beginning for them. This is our Winterfest pictures from this past Winterfest. We had the Grinch there. This is the Red, White, and Pool 2023. We had this last July. This was our event we had at the pool. This is our current dog park. And then the future, it's at the end of Sherman Soccer Fields, if you're not aware. And the proposal is to go to the fun park. You have the large part of the dog park, and then you have the smaller dog park. And that's right by Eagle Point, I'm sorry. Then here's the same diagram that you see here up on the table. This is a Gateway Commons Park. This is an approved phase 1 concept plan. Again, it's a concept plan. It's not in stone. Phase 1 is the administration building and site preparation. And then phase 2 is all the park amenities. And then the last thing on this slide is we have the survey, and that's what I'm talking about. The survey, take the Parks Recreation survey. And these are some of the questions that we were asking on the survey. How are you satisfied with the parks and recreation and amenities in your community? Do you prefer to receive community announcement? How frequently do you utilize Gateway? So these are questions that we're asking the public in Gateway to answer so that we can best survey and get the information. Like some people might want more pickleball, some people might want more tennis, some people like more trails, more picnic areas, but we need to hear from the public. We need to hear from Gateway in order to do that, okay? That's why I said this is just a concept plan. And then we're going to take the survey and the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee will discuss it and then make recommendations to the supervisor, Board of Supervisors. I'm not going to go through every little survey unless somebody would want me to. And then if there's any questions, this is the opportunity, that Carlo, if you have any concerns or questions, or you have anything
Well-
to add.
I have nothing to add. I mean, all these, that you saw, all the events, they're all organized really good. I mean, a lot of turnout. The pool for the 4th of July was great. The December one for Christmas, ton of people were there. All these things, same thing. I took my kid for the fishing derby. There's probably about 40 kids there. They had tons of prizes for the kids. It was great. So you want to, we'll just open it up to the public comments now?
Yes. Okay, so let's start with Denise Jocelyn Mosanky.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very concerned about the dog park, the existing dog park. I have a 2-year-old golden retriever. And you're spraying the park with chemicals to control the weeds. It's a dog park. We don't care about the weeds at a dog park. My dog, as I said, is only 2 years old. He's got cancer now. In his left rear leg, we had to have an operation, remove his leg. And that was after going to the dog park only for about 6 months or so. One of the other ladies who goes, her dog has come down with cancer now too. And had to have surgery and chemotherapy, or no, excuse me, radiation for that dog. Both of us have spent about $20,000 each on our dogs now. And it's costing me hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month for all the supplements he's on now and everything else. This is a very serious concern to us. So I just want to point that out to you and see what can be done about not spraying with these chemicals. In addition, I haven't brought the dog back there since his surgery. And now I'm hearing from everyone who goes there that the big dog, the ones for the big dogs, have these huge holes in them in the ground. The dirt hasn't been filled in. I could never bring the dog back there again on 3 legs to run because he'd break his legs. And the other people are telling me they're all going now to the small dog park with their big dogs because they're afraid, that will happen to their dog, that he'll break a leg or something. So would appreciate if something could be done about that situation. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vince Lafredo.
Vince Lafredo from Stony Brook. I've been concerned about the adoption and increase in the Parks and Rec. Last May I attended a meeting here and I heard that the dog park and the soccer field, by the way, I'm a dog lover too. We're losing this, Gateway Services, we're losing money over a 3-year period, $750,000. If we step up increasing amenities, the future costs here for the taxpayers at Gateway are just going to skyrocket. Because you're talking about long-term maintenance. You're also talking about a lot of things that appear not to be controlled by the Gateway residents. And number one is security. I'm looking at where this is going to be positioned. The plan has already been in place. And when I look at the potential for issues down the road, they're going to be big. Is it going to be open to the whole public? Are Gateway residents the only ones that are going to be paying taxes towards the amenities that are going in here? The administration building is one thing, but the park and the continued growth at Parks and Rec are a big concern, not only to me, but a number of residents in Stony Brook. And I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking only for myself. And I've seen these holes in governments and the growth in areas that probably they shouldn't go. And I look at the mission statement that was adopted this year. I don't see one word about infrastructure up there. That bothers me. It could be services. It's a matter of semantics. You could expand that word services into infrastructure, but also we need to know that we're going to be covered on infrastructure here. And every dollar that goes into Parks and Rec does not go into infrastructure. And that's a bothersome thing to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whitney?
Hi, Whitney Tinsley from Eagle Point. I'm here to address the dog park. It literally, and your proposal is going to be in my backyard as well as many of my other neighbors. I have a dog, and while there are dogs out in the field that do such, that does not bother me, but they literally are going to be in my backyard. I'm concerned about the maintenance of the park, just as what was said is what's going on over here. I'm concerned about the parking at that park. If you're going to leave the fun park or not leave it, there's insufficient parking for all of that. But I'm more concerned, and I hate to say not in my backyard, but there is no place for a dog park in such a residential area. It's over here away from all of the kids, far away from the soccer fields over here. And the kids that are free playing and running, if a dog gets loose, jumps the fence and does whatever there, as well as all the dogs on my little side of the street, as well as in Pinecrest there, all the barking that will be continual. I don't want that in my backyard. I love the fun park being there. I love watching all of the kids play, but I am very adamant that there is no place in a neighborhood for that dog park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Patty Stevens?
Hi, I'm Patty Stevens. I live in Hampton Park and I have a few questions. And are you not answering questions? You're only taking comments?
Correct.
Okay, well, so here's my comments. A survey was done a couple of years ago, last year or 2 years ago, and as I understood, a majority of the people who answered that survey really did not want this. So I'm just wondering how it was decided that this would go forward. Concerned about funding. Is this only going to be paid for by the Gateway residents through our CDD tax? Are there any grants that you have applied for or received? And since I live in Hampton Park, I'm very concerned about the security to Hampton Park. I see a black line going around the perimeter. Does that mean that it's a fence going to be around the perimeter of this whole complex? Also, I see an entrance, what looks like an entrance right by the gatehouse at Hampton Park. Is this going to be access for the community, for everybody? I'm very concerned about that, because if it is, we're not going to be able to get in and out of our own community. And further to the gentleman who just spoke earlier, is this going to be access to Gateway residents only via a key card or some other mechanism? As the pool, you have to have the key card. So I'm concerned about the access to this whole complex. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie,
Yes, ma'am.
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So, thank you. So my name's Chelsea O'Reilly. I'm the district manager here for Gateway Services Community Development District. And I apologize for not being there in person. I've caught a cold, I'm fighting, and hopefully on the mend. But I wanted to just kind of take a step back, and I appreciate the comments that have been mentioned so far. But I want to take a step back and kind of better explain how we got to where we are today, and then what the future potentially looks like. So last year, like Carla mentioned, this Parks and Rec Advisory Committee was established. The Board of Supervisors quickly realized that we had a handful of Parks and Rec amenities that could be better suited and represented. And so the committee members that you see in front of you sitting up at the dais are residents of Gateway. They were nominated, they applied for, were nominated, and selected by the Board of Supervisors. So last year, when we started our budgeting discussions, we had many public meetings with public input for everything Gateway Services, albeit utilities, parks and rec amenities, public works, administrative, etc. And so what came of those budget discussions were what I'll call initiatives of Parks and Rec. This is a bigger puzzle, I like to say, that we're putting together. So we've had, if you've lived in Gateway for a while, you've probably realized or been to this Sherman Soccer Complex on a Friday or Saturday night, and cars are lined up everywhere. The Board of Supervisors and staff and the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee tried to determine what is a long-term solution to what seems to be or have been a long-term problem. And so one of the solutions was to, oh, I'm sorry, I'm echoing.
No, you're fine.
Okay. One of the solutions, I'm still. Oh, it changed. Do you guys have two people in the boardroom? I don't know why I keep echoing. There's two boardrooms in the meeting here. Let's try this again. Okay, can you hear me now? I'm still echoing.
You're only echoing on your end.
Yeah, you're not echoing him here.
Okay. Weird.
I'm hearing everything twice.
Can you hear me now?
You're still echoing.
I think everyone else.
Chelsea jumped off. I think she's gonna try to log back on.
Back in to see if it's her.
Mhm.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I echoing?
No.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. I joined from my phone now. So the board.
Doesn't work.
All right, well, we'll continue forward right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you sound good.
Okay. So the board implemented in response to some of the community concerns with the need for additional parking at the Sherman Soccer Complex. And so by doing so, there was some designs and plans that were done many years ago for a RV park that used to be proposed for the back of the Sherman Soccer Complex. So we were ordered to use old plans that had been designed and update them to incorporate additional parking at the Sherman Soccer Complex, which in turn would move the dog park over to the fun park. There are amenities over at the existing fun park, which if you've been there recently, we've made some improvements, but there's clearly a need for larger investments for either remove and replace or remove and put someplace else. And so between the improvements to the dog park that were needed, the improvements to the fun park that were needed, and the implementation or construction or planning of the administrative building, the board decided to look at the bigger picture and what amenities could we phase into this master park plan. And so what has transpired over 8+ months is the review of the old park plan from back in the day, because we wanted to look at that. And the discussions that we had amongst PrAC and the Board of Supervisors was, hey, we have a very dynamic population here in Gateway. We're pretty much 50-50 split down the middle, where we have young families, startup families, or we have retirees. And so how can we phase this Commons Park plan and the amenities in Gateway that are 30+ years old and meet the needs of our community? So in the initial, this Commons Park plan, this master park plan, which this is, again, like Carrie said, this is very conceptual. The board has approved us moving into design. And so the first step would be to get to 30% design. And like Carla mentioned, at every single one of those steps at 30, 60, 90% design, that will go in front of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, as well as the Board of Supervisors, because we want the input of the community. Now, for the phase, what we'll call phase 1 of the park improvements, again, we're trying to hit those different age groups and the different dynamics. So court sports, such as pickleball, was included in phase 1. A playground was included in phase 1. And then like a nature trail or path with potentially workout equipment. That way we hit all 3 of our different age groups. The rest of the amenities are future phases. There is funding that has been allocated towards Parks and Rec amenities already. That was done as part of the 2023 bond series. But again, this is a very conceptual design. We want the public's input. We want your feedback. We've already got some feedback, but that kind of gets us to where we are today and having this town hall meeting in the evening. The Parks and Rec Advisory Committee made it very clear. Again, we have some young working folks. We've got some retirees. And typically the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee meetings are during the day at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. They wanted to accommodate the working class, and so that's why they're having this meeting here tonight. What I suggest staff do is that as questions arise, let's write them down. And then at the very end, after we take all of public comment, we will go back and we will try to address some of those questions. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Carrie and Daniel.
Denise Jenkins.
Hi, Denise Jenkins, Hampton Park. A couple of questions. I didn't see on there any planning for lighting, so I didn't know if that was going to be taken into consideration and how that would affect the neighboring communities. The dark line around it, is that some type of perimeter fencing for security and to prevent access to non-gateway residents? Like, how are you going to control that access? Especially in the back part where it says that it's to link to existing pathways and walking paths. How will you get in and out of there or control the access from the back? Another concern is the entryway that's right by the Hampton Park Guard Shack. Is that for an emergency entrance only? Because there is covered parking that's noted right there. So if it's the entrance is clear up here in front, is that the only entrance into this? So that's a concern as well. The pickleball, I know that I'm glad to hear that it's phase one because we have a lot of pickleball players in our community and they definitely want it. It's a growing sport. So I'm glad to hear that that's, slated. And it looks like there are 5 currently proposed, 5 courts, pickleball courts. So anxious to hear about more on that. And that's funding. I guess you guys already have the funding from the bond for at least phase 1 of the administrative building. And then the kids park, the pathway, and these pickleball courts from my understanding, correct? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Hi, Cindy Clyburn, Eagle Point. Had some questions really, I guess, about the pool. New alterations being made to the pool, which I guess I'm not allowed to ask questions now, so I don't guess that's very pertinent. That was one of the main reasons I came, but I did not realize we were not allowed to ask questions. I apologize. Also, I wanted to. Okay, what the heck's going on with the pool area? What are the new, I mean.
That's what I want to hear from you.
Yes, yeah. What are the new improvements that are gonna be made, in the pool area? I'm not privy, obviously, to those particular emails, or I'm not on some list. I'm not quite sure, but I'm not hearing a lot of what I'm hearing today. So, I mean, I'm interested in that. My second part, unless somebody wants to start talking to me, I know I only got 3 minutes, so I'm gonna be quick. Second part would be the dog park. I am an Eagle Point resident, of course, so, a lot, and I'm talking about the majority of the people, or a lot of the people have dogs. I'd say, what, 50%, realistically? And they're not interested in it that I know of or have spoken to, and that's quite a amount. I talk to a lot of people. Anyway, they enjoy walking through the neighborhood, meeting the neighbors, getting to know our neighbors, and dogs becoming puppy friends, play dates, whatever it is. But we really don't feel like the church backyard is an appropriate location for a dog park. And I thank you for your time. If anybody wants to talk to me, be right here. Okay, I'll meet you over there.
Okay, Judy? Eagle Point?
Good evening. My name is Judy Peak and I live in Eagle Point. I too have been a resident for this in Gateway for 25 years. I have great concerns about this dog park. And personally, I'm not a member of that Lutheran church. I don't go to that Lutheran church, but it's disrespectful to the church to put a dog park that close to a church. To me, it's just as bad as a liquor store. Because you're going to have ruckus and somebody carrying on all the time. Why would you do that? It's just not feasible. It's not reasonable. And I am one of the few people that attend these meetings on a regular basis. Going back to that survey and all this stuff, majority of the people in Gateway don't want to see this come to fruition. It is a sad day when the people we elect will not do as their constituents have asked them to do. It is wrong. Our government is in such a mess. Let's don't follow in their footsteps. What is wrong with people? It is near and dear to my heart, this entire area. But wrong is wrong. And if you are not willing to step up and listen to the people of this neighborhood? What kind of people are you? What's that make us? It's a sad day. When I came here, the cows were roaming around. You could hear them. That's why I moved to Gateway. I grew up on a farm. I want to hear those cows in the morning. It's long gone. We have become a society where more and more and more, when the bottom line is less is more. Children will find a place to play. And that park is being utilized more than I've ever seen it utilized. I am thankful for what they have done. But, you know, how much it's going to cost to move everything over there? Have you thought about it? This budget that came about last year, people did not want this kind of money spent
Time's
in
up.
Gateway. Okay,
Thank
but
you.
you get my grip. I'm totally against this dog park, and I would like to see y'all step up to the plate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen, you're next. Stephen Brown.
Stephen Brown, Bill is the Gateway Greens. And I just have a general question about, I think we've seen what's involved in this project. But we've seen very little about what the financial impact is going to be on the members of the community. Now, it may not mean very much to some people. They may have all the funds to operate that they need. But there are those out there that maybe don't. And the financial impact of something like this would be very meaningful. Just wondering why we haven't received something that details the cost of this project and individually how much it means to each member of the community. Is there someone on this committee that has the information as far as what the cost of this is all going to be? So you guys are making decisions about this project and you have no idea about what it's going to represent as a cost to the members?
This is a plan that's been worked on currently, so there is no cost yet because it hasn't been decided 100% what is going to be on here for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So there is no cost yet. There is ideas based on the previous estimates, but there is no final cost yet because we're still discussing it, obviously.
Well, it should be one of the major things that you look at, what the cost is going to be and what the impact is going to be on all of us. If you don't know that, I don't know why we're doing this. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Stephen, what you said was exactly right. And this drawing right here was shown to us in January, about January 16th, or the last meeting that we had. So we're bringing you guys to the table for your input, for your ideas, for what you would like to see before we get to 30% or we get to any percent. So we're really, we're not answering questions because sometimes we don't know how this is, whether there's going to be a fence around this entire area, how it's going to be developed. This is just some lines on a piece of paper to try to get some input, initial input. So what you're asking for will be available. The other thing that's important to me is that people come to these meetings, and when you have ideas or you have thoughts about any of this, that you somehow respond by writing a letter or asking the questions on a piece of paper getting it to Chelsea, getting it to us. So we can do the homework that's necessary to make the right decisions. Does that, you understand
And-
what we're saying?
Dave, can I dovetail on that? And I just want to remind folks that the Board of Supervisors created the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee to advise and to vet ideas and get input from the community. Ultimately, the Board of Supervisors has all of the final decisions, financial decisions and final decisions of what happens. And those are your 5 elected board members. So again, we'll work on Carrie and Daniel are taking down all of the questions. It is our intent to answer the questions, but in order to get everybody's comments on the record, that's why we're just trying to plow through public comment. We'll get to the ones that are online. I know that we've got 7 hands up online, but once Carrie gets through those that are in person, we'll get those that are online. So thank you.
And can I interject for a second? And I would like to say, I believe I speak for every one of us when I say that we're all residents of this general community, like you are. We have the same concerns, we ask the same questions, and that's what we're here for. There's no ulterior motive from any one of us. We are trying to service the community best we can and to do good by everyone. So we're with you. We want your opinion. We want your feedback. We want you to participate. That's what this committee is all about. And then we make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. We don't make financial decisions by no means. We do ask about cost. We spend countless hours debating how much it's going to cost to improve on the facilities we have versus move them and create something better that will better serve all the communities in Gateway. So I want you to take away that, and we invite all your input.
Barney Draper.
Barney Draper in Vista Pine Circle. How many of you on this board here got a dog park behind your house? Just raise your hands. Nobody, right?
What was the question?
I wanted to know how many of the board members have a dog park behind the house. And you are right in what you're saying about getting the information out, but you didn't give out no educated information about this dog park at all. I heard about it through a neighbor that supposedly heard about it through a board member. And you said you didn't know what the cost was, but it was around $125,000, $150,000. That's what they said. And the other thing is, we're talking about spending money on a dog park. How many of you walk in front of the church on Gateway Boulevard and Vista Pine Circle? Anybody ever walked out there? The gentleman back here tonight, they talked about spending money. Somebody needs to spend some money on that lift station. That's the stinkingest thing I ever smelled in my life. And you talking about adding to it by putting a dog park in. So really, you need to take a walk out there and check on it. That's terrible. And you see what it is all the sewage goes through that one system. That's your main sewage system right there. The reason I know that because I'm an old man and I helped build this damn place out here. And I remember when Gateway Boulevard was built. Remember that lift station going in. And if you don't do something about it. And the other question I got before I forget it. The guy also stated about how many people lived here. You can be paying taxes. You want about the soccer. I love soccer. But how many people that play soccer here live in Gateway? I mean, really. I would say that 20% of the people that play soccer on that soccer team live here and the rest of them don't. And their parents are not paying the taxes where I live. And I mean that. Next time you want to build something in the community, go around and talk to the community. When the district wanted to buy that Girl Scout building, remember that? They knocked on my door about 3 times a week. Want to know how I felt about it. And I asked the guy 3 questions. He's gonna get back with me. He never got back with me. Next thing, it's gone. If you want to do something in the community, come talk to the community. It's not our responsibility, sir, to come to all these meetings. It's for you to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got Eileen, Kalen?
Good evening. Hi, my name's Eileen Kalen. My house is on that map up there, is overlooking the potential dog park. Neighbor to Barney and the neighbor to some of these other people, and that's the biggest issue, is putting a dog park in our backyard. I did write an email last week and Chelsea did answer some of my questions and I appreciated that. I had a couple follow-ups. Dog park, please put it up at the Commons. If it has to be moved and you can't find any other solution for parking at the soccer, put the dog park up at the Commons and solve this problem simple and easy if there's no other way to find parking at the soccer field. Second thing is, putting it by the church. I know they were reaching out to the church. I was told Board of Supervisors wanted the church's opinion. It is right behind the church, but it's about 2 football fields away from the church. It's about 50 yards from my house. Nobody wanted to ask my opinion or the opinion of the neighbors whose homes back up to it. So we're talking about the noise. And I know people that attend the dog park say it's not that loud, but the reality is there's dogs barking and that's a violation of the noise ordinance to put something so loud so close to residential property. So I just find better solutions here. And the soccer park, there's a ton of land back there that's overgrown. It's bush. It's just, there's piles of debris back there. Clean that out, find out what needs, there's just opportunities there that needs to be relooked at. And if, with all due respect, we're looking at plans from 30 years ago that was going to build an RV park there. I mean, we just need to scrap that. We're not living in 30 years ago. Yes, there were cows here. 30 years ago, there was a horse farm. There were stables in Gateway. We're not 30 years ago. We need to look at the reality of what the land we have now and make it work for all the residents. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I've got Tom Murphy.
Yeah, I'm from Stony Brook. So I attend a lot of the CDD meetings, and it's my understanding that this recent proposal for the park and Rex proposal could cost in the area of $5+ million, depending upon the things that they put into it. And as a Stony Brook resident, I really don't feel that I want to pay $5 million for it. The dog park, I agree with these people. No one wants a dog park in their backyard, and there's plenty of spaces that it can be put in should the need arise to have a new dog park. I know we're going to spend $1 million on new drainage and parking and whatnot out at the soccer fields, and that's all well and good, but the people who live behind this proposed dog park shouldn't have to suffer the consequences because you all want to put in a parking lot for soccer fields that probably most of the people in Gateway don't even use. I don't know who's on this board and who lives where, but this park and recreations project is only going to be paid for by the people from Stony Brook and every other Gateway complex other than Pelican Preserve. They're not paying a dime towards this. We're going to all bear the burden of this park. And a lot of our residents or our communities already have a lot of these services. We don't need any of these additional services. When we move into these communities, we pick the communities that we want because of the services that they have. We don't need you to add more. Your mission statement on the website says you're here to provide infrastructure and services. Well, you created services, not you, because it's not you. It's the people who are on the board, which Flavia is on the board. They decided that we need some sort of park, and we need soccer fields, and we need amphitheaters, and we need whatever else is part of this whole project. When I move into a community, I pick the community because of the services they have, or I don't move there. Or the price of the house was just so great I couldn't pass it up. But I certainly don't want to pay for all of this stuff. And I'm not in favor of this whole parks thing. And I know that you have you're not responsible for the cost of it. You're just here to help design it and get citizen input on it. But from my perspective, I don't want to pay for it. It's the board of supervisors who had to decide whether or not they want to pay for it, and they want to impose those fees or that tax on us. So they say that our non-ad valorem taxes are going to increase. And, you know, if 50% of the people here are seniors, I'm going to guess not many of them are playing basketball or a lot of the services that are offered. We don't need a basketball gym there. There's a slew of things that are there that most seniors are not going to use. And so
It's time.
my time is up, but in any event, I'm not in favor of it. And so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is Rod Steroid. Senior, Rod Senior.
You're right.
Thank you. Rod Senior from Gateway Greens. I hope you'll afford me a bit of time. Chelsea O'Reilly was on for 9 minutes.
3 minutes. Sir.
Well, why was she on 9 minutes? Okay, and my background goes back a long way with the CDD here. I was on the board for a while. My interest was sparked in 2007 when the board at that time were about to start building a park. And I led the Stop the Park movement, which was vigorous. We had a really strong team of people that culminated in a meeting at the Lutheran Church of 503 people, and we got it stopped. It was a $7.5 million quasi tennis complex that was ill thought out. No thought gone into operating and maintenance. No thought had gone into the security. And it was personal agendas on the part of 3 board members that we exposed. 2 of the board members of Pelican Preserve who weren't paying. They got themselves excused. The current board is the same makeup. 2 Pelican Preserve residents are not even paying for this proposed concept. So now, the way the board got out of it at that time was to form a Parks and Recreation Committee. And they did a survey which included doing nothing. And it was a 93% vote of doing nothing. That's the first time they asked the residents, and it was sunset. Now, this park plan that Chelsea O'Reilly, she talks about an old park plan. I don't know what that is because it was dead. In 2021, this board did a survey, and the survey says the key results that I circulated at an HOA president's meeting, 89% of respondents want no increase in assessments for a proposed park. 89% say no. And that's 900 respondents out of 6,000. That's significant. 63% want no children's playground. 60% don't want a new family pool. 57% don't want any sports facilities, tennis, basketball, pickleball, volleyball, horseshoe. And 53% don't want a fitness trail. With those results, why are we even here? And why did the board create this committee? I don't understand why we're looking at this. The residents don't want it. And if the lady, Terry, is it, Kerry?
Kerry.
You talked earlier about doing a survey. If you're going to do yet another survey, please include doing nothing and see what result you get. Okay? Because I hope you do. HOAs have got their own parks and rec facilities like other people tonight have said. Why do we want to duplicate it? I'm very concerned about our property taxes and the CDD component. We've got a bond that's just been approved, a capital reserve study, another $8 million bond is going to be for the enterprise fund, which is going to go into your water bills. I'm really scared about the future of our property taxes. And instead of enhancing property value that some people think this will do, I think it will go, they'll depress them because of the CDD component of our property taxes.
It's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I've got Morgan Beal. Morgan.
There's a lot of negativity towards the ideas of the park. I totally get it. I actually got to see the original plans several years ago because my deceased friend now actually constructed it. His company, along with an engineer, was the one that actually created the original park design. Comment from him, and I can quote him now. He said, "If I die, go ahead and say whatever." It was a good. He had a condition that ended up, eventually succumbing to, but he didn't like his own plan. And I'll tell you why. He said it was inflated. It was bloated. It was too much. He was a designer. So he designed parks. He designed parking lots for Publix, everything from malls to large land development. There was too much on the plan. They tried to cram way too much into it. And amenities kept getting at it. If you've ever heard of feature creep in a project, that's what was happening. They would go to the drawing board. They would make the drawing. They want more. They would not try to cram in more. Oh, we need this, this, and this. Oh, now we need tennis courts. Okay, now we need the plumbing for the pool and the expansion of the pool. Now we got a water park. It kept going. I remember because I just moved here when he started talking. I was in his office and I was saying, why don't they just simplify this? Just the budget was well over what people have been stating. I can tell you that much. It was in millions and millions. And I've even heard there was some original ideas that were near 100 million when it came to costs of all the development in the one development program. And it wasn't just the park, it was all of it at once. Okay. So there was a lot of grand ideas, which is great, but a lot of no control over what the features were and why you were doing things. Point in case, dog park, right? Is there a demand for a dog park? Well, sure. Some people like using dog parks. Okay. We have one, fix the one we have. I would say try to keep as much open space as possible. Keep it simple. Try not to add so much in there for everybody that you're adding a parking lot that is the size of the open land that you have. That's a problem. That means your design is starting to over-feature itself, where you're becoming more dependent on your design to fix things, right? So you start taking up more in space. It's also a sin to leave an open field where our services just go and mow an open field with a giant rock pile in the middle of it. And why do we have that? Should have never been there as long as it's been. Okay. There should have been a smart plan. And I think, what I would suggest that this committee review is cost to use and practicality. I think there needs to be a park. There's no good argument against nothing in a field. I get it. People are used to it. But when you development of any place costs money, you have to be smart about it. And it shouldn't cost us any more than what we're doing now. If you are building a park now, you should be having a balanced budget to where this isn't going to impact our taxes, as the gentleman that was up here last talked about. Pointing at different people, but there should be a balanced approach. It shouldn't be a burden on the taxpayer to say, hey, you go to park, you're going to have to pay twice the amount of tax or whatever. That's fine. That's it. Just wanted to give, and also the statistics given for 12 to 15% of the residents that live here. It's not statistics. You need to survey everybody somehow.
Next up is Candy Brown.
I have a concern.
You can pull it down.
I have a concern about if you build this project, which I don't think is necessary, but if you do this, who is going to manage the tennis courts, the pickleball courts? Is it going to end up that you need people there to manage them? Okay? How much is that gonna cost? Are you gonna have the necessary manpower to control all, the people who come in and use these facilities? Because I don't think you've thought about that. How much is that gonna cost to pay people to work there? And my other thing is, did you put in there a place for the sewer truck to dump all the sewer that goes behind the pool? Because the sewer truck goes back there every day and dumps sewage. There's a great big pile, gigantic back there. And the sewer truck goes back there 3 times a day. So I just, what are you gonna do with that sewage pile back there? The other thing, it's not gonna be, it needs to have a fence around it. Or my other thing is this gonna end up where you're gonna open it to the public and let them pay to use this park? Because that's what happened with the soccer field. And I think, certain people on the board are kind of greedy. They're looking for money, okay? And I want to know if you're going to open it to the public. I don't agree with that. Because I don't think you're going to have that many people in here using all those facilities. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just clarify that there is no sewage being dumped behind the pool. That is the stormwater drain cleaning contract, not sewage.
It's just from the sewer truck.
Stormwater drain. Stormwater drain, yes.
Carrie, who's next?
Okay, Don. Don Wink.
Actually, it's Don Weekle. Couple of things. Rod was talking about years ago when we went through this in Gateway. And we did have over 500 people in that church. And I can only remember, I saw one person in favor of this here in all Gateway. Only one. There was concerns then about, we live right next to an area here in Florida that is not necessarily the safest place to go to or be in or be around. Lehigh Acres, I'm sorry. We open up a park like this, you know what's going to be used? Lehigh Acres. They're going to love this place. They don't have anything. I see it already in the basketball courts over there. And I never say anything. They don't have any basketball courts. Lehigh Acres is the most undeveloped area there is in this part of Florida. That's what we're going to be dealing with. So you got all the concerns about passes and fences and who's going to run all that? Secondly, it concerns me more cost, and it come up from great points. Maintenance, maintaining it, the people who maintain it, the bonds. We sometimes spend money like drunken sailors around here because we think everybody has it. And I know everybody doesn't have it. I've been here 30 years. I've saw a lot of changes here in Gateway and Gateway Greens and all the new developments coming here. And you talk about a 50-50. No, I'll tell you what, Gateway Greens is not 50-50 seniors and people with kids. It's not that way. Maybe 80-20. I don't know what it's like in other developments, but there's a lot of retirees here. There's a lot of people without kids. This is not something they're going to use. They got their own pools. They have that's why they bought. They know what they want. They don't need all this here. And we don't need, the concern I have is the cost and the influx of people into our area that we don't want. I'm sorry to say it. We don't want them over here. And this whole thing with the soccer field, when we agreed to do the soccer field, there was a federation that's going to run the soccer field. They're going to take care of maintenance, take care of all the service on it, mow it, everything. We don't have any costs. It wasn't a problem. I don't think it's that way today. I think we changed that. If I'm not mistaken, the board here, CDD, took over the soccer fields. And now they fertilize it, maintain it. They got their maintenance people in it. Are we making any money in that? Or is it a loss leader to have it in our community? And we talk about 20% of the people in Gateway use it and 80% of people don't. And I'm all in favor of soccer. I'm in favor of parks. there's got to be a little reasonable with this kind of community and where we're located on how we do it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up's Randy. Next up's Randy Dunkel.
Good evening to everyone. My name's Randy Dunkel. My husband and I live in Pinecrest. The proposed new dog park is basically it encroaches our backyard, but it is my backyard. And we are not in favor of that. I know what I have to say. I mean, everything has been, most have been spoken, but you got a security issue, a noise issue, a sanitation issue. I'm a dog owner. I know my dog barks when there's dogs running, in the park, the open field right now. But dogs bark. We all know that. But to have something, maybe 10 feet away from my house in my backyard, it basically takes over my neighbor's backyard, and I happen to be the next house. But any of us, Barney, Eileen, Tracy, and others, that house backs up to that field, to put a dog park in there, I know we're all not in favor of that. Security is a big thing. We see people playing basketball throughout the years. We don't say much, but I know most of those residents don't live in our Gateway community. I've been in Gateway since 1991. I was one of the first homeowners in Eagle Point before we moved over to Pinecrest. I've used this dog park along the way. I don't today. And my heart goes out to you on the odyssey that you're going through with your dog's health, and that of the other lady you mentioned. We stopped using that park because of it wasn't maintained well. I have small dogs. I didn't want to take my small dogs to the big dogs. I've seen, incidents over there of, dog owners that not restraining their dogs, snapping at the other ones, or that resulted in injuries. But I love our community. Gateway's a very unique place. Again, I've been here since 1991. I've seen the evolution of it, but to have to move the dog park that is in my backyard and our backyard, I'm vehemently against. So thanks for listening to me this evening.
Next up, we're going to take a question from the online people, and I'm going to start with Elise Rivard. Elsie Rivard, you have 3 minutes. Nothing heard. We'll move on to Terry Tripp. Please go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name's Terry Tripp, Bristol Park. When I hear people make comments like 80% of the people are against this, I tend not to believe it. I think when people come to these meetings, they're the ones that are against it. The people that are for it are just sitting back waiting for it to happen. I've been living in Lee County for 30 years, and when I come to Gateway, it's so stagnant. When this community was first developed, it was so ahead of its time, and it just stayed stagnant. I mean, new communities came in, yes. What would the park mean? It would mean my property's going to be worth more. My taxes go up a little bit, okay, but my property's worth more. Just common sense. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Moving on to Tamara Wrong.
Hi, it's Tamara Wong from Hampton Park. I've been in the Gateway community since 2010. I am one of those 50% supposedly that is a family, a parent of a young child. So I'm the young family situation here. And a lot of conversation has occurred about, how things used to be and how we want to be fiscally responsible, in which I agree that we need to be fiscally responsible and see what we can repurpose of what we have existing. There's always in this area it's been focused on soccer, 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 but there's other young families out here who like other sports besides soccer. And we have one basketball court that has no basketball hoops in the community. And yes, I live in Hampton Park and supposedly we have a basketball court, but it's not always feasible to go there. So we don't have other options that we can go to in the other community. I have to either go to the YMCA for any basketball type of tournaments, or I have to go and travel 15 miles out of the area. So I can't even enjoy my own community at times. You know, I think that it's important that we don't just focus on one part of the community who, you know, no disrespect for all the seniors and all the folks that have lived here forever, but we have young families and their voices also need to be heard and be considered. I mean, I don't want my taxes to go up either. I don't want to have to pay more for property taxes, and I don't want to have to pay more fees. But I also want more opportunity for my child to be able to enjoy the community that we love. That's all.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
Next up, Gardner Blizzard.
Thank you for hearing me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a member of the Gateway Trinity Lutheran Church Council, and we have a meeting this Thursday. So I plan to bring this information up to them about this proposal. I'm not sure if past councils have weighed in on it, but my concern looking at the proposed new site is we have quite a few members on our services every Sunday. And my concern, and we have one at 8:30 and one at 10 that goes to about 11. Then we usually have activities after. And the overflow parking from people going to the play park and then to a dog park and taking up a lot of parking from the church during that time. Also, you know, again, when we're having services that, you know, there's a lot of dogs over there and stuff. So I don't know what the entire council is going to feel about it. But the other question I have is I'm not sure why the location was picked. It appears to me that there's like tons of space over by the community pool. And this type of project is going to take probably years if it's approved. In the meantime, to solve the issue of the dog park needing to be moved, I would think that dog parks is mostly a fenced-in area. So over by the pool, people would go to the pool and they could also go drop their dogs off to play and stay with them. And then, you know, but I think personally, I think the actual plan for a new park area with all these amenities is a bit much. I came from a community where there was, you know, like volleyball courts and basketball courts. It never took up this much space, and I agree. I'm really concerned about the traffic that's going to pick up on Gateway Boulevard to try to get into this new park, and how you're going to control just the community using it. So those are my concerns, and I'll bring this up at council on Thursday and see where we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on next to Ed.
Hey guys, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for what you're doing, for your volunteering, your time, and just for a little bit of history. I was on the Parks Committee when it was first created, back before it was uncreated, and it was my idea to start the dog park. So you can send all the nasty emails about the dog park right over to my way, and you won't have to worry about them there. But one of the things that we never really spoke about when we were talking about the dog park was putting it in a residential neighborhood. Of course, I love the dog park. It was my idea and our idea back then, but for our neighbors right here, you're really talking about backing it up to a residential neighborhood. And I'm not really sure that's the perfect spot for a dog park. And one of the things that I think you guys should do would be helpful to everybody is if there's an easy way to send out how much the dog park is getting used, how many people use it, what's the cost, how much revenue are you making? Maybe this is one of those projects that, you know, outlived its usefulness. If it's the parking that you need for soccer over there. We started the flag football league back then, so we know how that park gets used. But, you know, that area right there behind their homes, I feel really bad about the dog park being butted up against their fence. And we're talking about really close to our neighborhood here. We live in Pinecrest, which is on the other side of the church, but still, heard a lot of our neighbors here tonight talking about that. So really think hard about that. If you're going to have a project this big at the Commons, it just makes perfect sense. If you're going to keep the dog park, to move it up there if you can't keep it where it is. So, you know, I don't never thought I was going to say not in my backyard, but I do feel bad for our neighbors over here, and the fact that that would be butt up against their houses. So, appreciate your time and everything you're doing, and good luck with all this.
Thank you, Ed. Next up is Roy DeStable. Roy Capadona.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for hosting this meeting tonight and giving the residents of Gateway an opportunity to ask questions, get some information. I'm in favor of modernizing the amenities within Gateway. I'm concerned myself in regards to the cost. It looks like the area that we're looking at on this map, there's a lot crammed in there. And being I live here in Hampton Park, I'm concerned with a lot of extra traffic coming through. And if we're using band shells and softball fields, someone asked about lighting. I'm concerned about a lot of that lighting overflowing into Hampton Park. If you're using band shells with music and having concerts out there, it's a lot of noise that the people of Hampton Park are going to experience, as well as Hidden Lakes and Gateway. And Gateway Greens is going to pick up a lot of that noise. Someone asked about the black line around here for security. I'm hoping if we do build this facility, there is some fencing around it so that it keeps the public out of Hampton Park. But one of the things that hasn't been spoken about is that path, that linear path that comes through Hampton Park. That comes right through Hampton Park on the other side of our main gate. I hope that the GSCDD looks at maybe somehow routing that around the front of the buildings and keeping people out of Hampton Park. You're going to bring hundreds, maybe thousands of more people in here on a weekend, riding their bikes and so forth. They're going to leave the complex area and follow that path. And that path leads right into our homes. So that's another security issue that I have in my mind that needs to be looked at. And I feel sorry for the residents here that are sitting on this panel, because I know that being a board member in the past, you get a lot of grief for suggestions that you try to bring up. And a lot of this stuff doesn't even come to fruition, but some of these things can be utilized. It's just don't cram all of it all in that one space, because it's an inconvenience for the people that live here to have to put up with all that noise and additional traffic coming through. So thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Betty. This will be the last one for online, and then I've got one more in person to address. Go ahead, Betty.
Hi, I'm Betty Polidoros, and I live over in Pinecrest. And I have some major concerns about the dog park. When we moved into this neighborhood, this building right behind me in my backyard was empty. It is now a business. We are inundated with cars and people all day long. It's impossible for me to sit out on my lanai with my dogs because they're constantly barking at the constant movement in this parking lot here. On top of that, we deal with the foul language coming out of the business owner here constantly all day long. And now we're in a discussion about putting a dog park once again in my backyard. I think this is the most ridiculous thing that I have ever heard of. You do not put a dog park in a residential neighborhood. It's one thing I've got a business already in my backyard, and now we want to discuss a dog park. I don't know how you think that that's going to increase my property value when somebody walks in here and sees a business and a dog park in their backyard. And I think it's totally unfair that the residents are not allowed to have a voice in this, to voice their displeasure, and to make it known that this is just not the thing to do. So those are my concerns. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Betty. Last up, I got Tamara Zahn. Sorry, you were last, yeah.
No, that's okay. I was late to the game. I'm from Pinecrest, and just a couple things I want to bring up about the dog park. My backyard too is one of the ones that's just going to be 1 or 2 houses over from the dog park being in my backyard. One thing that I heard that could be a misunderstanding, I understand the reason for the move of the current dog park because of the parking, but it sounded like the fact that we have to move it means it has to go in our backyard. And maybe it's just the way it's worded, but I don't know that there's been several options. The community pool area sounded like a great one, but anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. And also I have lived near a dog park. People at the dog park do not always obey the rules. I'm sure there's lots of dog owners who do obey the rules and do a great job. But my husband and I, we've lived near one. People come at different hours. They're hollering, yelling, throwing to their dogs. They're having conversations before work at 5:30 in the morning. And for those neighbors who are directly behind, we could hear them. So the security was talked about. Sure hope that there's the security and not just something where just the residents can use. It's not something that you want non-residents to be able to use. Financial, a couple of people talked about financial. I just wanted to reiterate that. That's one of the reasons why we moved into Gateway. There's a lot of other neighborhoods that some of the cost of their HOAs and things are many, many hundreds of dollars a month. We chose to live here because it's not like that. And some of these designs that we're picking out, I'm fearful that we're just going to jump right in there and join the bandwagon with them. Also, I'm fairly new to the area. That's one of the things we looked at before we bought in here. We saw the park behind us and we went to and talked to the neighbors before we even moved in and said, what is that behind you? Because we did not want to live with a dog park in our backyard. We actually turned down a house in Babcock Ranch because there was a dog park right in these people's backyard. Traffic on Gateway, somebody brought up, definitely a concern. Somebody brought up the facilities and can we maintain those? Hey, I'm all for pickleball. I'm all for basketball. I love all of that. I have kids and grandkids that will enjoy it. But somebody said something about the basketball goal. Since I've lived here, the basketball goal has been broken. One doesn't exist and the other hasn't had a hoop there. So it's amenity that we don't even have. So if we add more amenities, can we maintain those? Or at some point, are they just all going to be broken? Let's see, property value. Somebody talked about property value. If you look up and you Google research, dog parks do increase the value, but not when they're in your backyard. So for those people, that value of our property is not going to be going up. You know, like the gentleman said, it will for maybe everybody else, but not for the areas that go up to that. And then lastly, okay. And thank you guys. Thank you for being here and listening.
Carla, that concludes comments, both online and in person. So turn it back over to you.
So a lot of concerns about all different things. Again, this is just conceptual. Of course, we want to not increase everyone's taxes substantially. You know, like I said, it's conceptual, so a lot of things aren't worked out yet. You want to say something like that?
I do. Pardon me. I heard last year that, well, first of all, let me explain that I live in Eagle Point. Okay, so I'm right next to the proposed dog park. I heard last year that Gateway was looking at selling that land or putting pickleball there or something. And that's precisely why I got involved here, because it's been green. It's been green ever since I've been there for almost 30 years. And I love that. I didn't want to have buildings going up or construction happening at that area. I wanted to keep green. So I got involved and they showed me the big plan. Right? I was focused on my little section of the world, just like many of you are. And once I saw the big plan, it made sense with what we have to not sell that land to God knows who and to keep it green. And that's precisely why the board has recommended that the dog park move there. I did, and that's why I got on the board. Or the committee, sorry, not the board.
Well, it was
So-
on the table.
Yeah, it was on the table.
It was on the table for discussion. Not to
Mhm.
interrupt you.
Yeah,
You wanna
absolutely.
finish? It was on the table for discussion and I was actually for selling it because we're going to generate a substantial amount of money, close to $1 million, maybe more. So we can put towards other amenities. So then you have absolutely no control because it is zoned commercial. So you could end up with God knows how many story buildings in your backyard and then you're not gonna see the sun anymore. Think about that. Somebody could make it parking for dump trucks. What are you going to do then?
What was the
That
land zoned
was-
for?
What, it's commercial, zoned commercial.
How high? 2-story? That's what land line you're zoned for, 2-story.
Are you talking about the dog park?
We're talking about
The land.
Talking about where the
Fun
dog
part.
park.
the proposed land.
So we considered all that. What would be better for the residents?
Right.
Would I want to have whatever to my backyard if that was my home?
Yeah, with more traffic
would
going
I-
down that lane.
Would I want to have?
Also donated, but they did, you had got to go down and.
Okay. You're missing my point. Well,
I just saw it happen when you.
Well, my point was the reason that I got on here is because I wanted to keep the land green. That I didn't want it to be sold to whatever would go in there. Right. And I hear what you're saying. So looking at the big plan, looking at the big overall plan, that seemed to be the best solution that we could come up with for what the board asked us to do.
And if you want to keep it green, why do you want to build that complex?
Pardon?
If you want to keep that land green behind the pool, why do you want to build that complex?
What you're talking about. a different
We're
area.
talking
You're
about
talking
a
about a
different
different
thing.
area.
Talking about the
Yeah.
fun, we're talking about the fun park, which is behind the church.
Yeah, okay, that's
Right.
where the proposal
Which
was.
we thought about putting up for sale, which could end up with some other commercial enterprise.
I need to put enough negatives on that dog park on there that it would even.
Stay green if you want to turn around.
All right.
So concerned about
Well-
parking, especially soccer people.
Thank you. Public comment's been closed. I appreciate everybody's feedback. But back onto topic with the agenda. Carlo, please continue.
Do you have anything else to add? Do you have anything to add?
Set the next meeting agenda, please.
Really quick, just really super quick. I think it's great that we're all together, right? And we're talking about these things because again, like has been said, we're more than willing, we want to represent everyone, right? We are you as well. Please fill these out. Even if you don't agree 100% with what's on them, fill them out because any amount of info that we can get to help to give to the board is beneficial. So please.
So they're around the room right now. We're gonna post them on our website, social media. That's actually already posted, but you can take a picture of that QR code right there and it'll take you straight to the survey.
All you have to do
They're
is-
hung all the way around the room and also on our district webpage.
Yeah, so everybody please fill out the surveys.
Giving you this so you'll know where.
Okay.
All right, so next up.
If
we're
you have
gonna set the-
opportunity to talk.
Sorry.
So I've heard a bunch of, Robert Lewis here and I live in
Excuse me, can
Gateway
you keep the
Greens.
sidebars to a minimum?
Robert Lewis and I live in Gateway Greens and I don't have a dog. We're cat folks. And so I didn't know what the dog park meant. All I knew was that on Saturday and Sunday, it's pretty impossible, even Friday nights. It's impossible for those that want to use the dog park to use it because of all the soccer activity that's going on. And not knowing exactly what went on a dog park, I went over there and I sat for about an hour in my car, seeing what was going on. I was not totally impressed that the noise was that offensive. And what I would invite you to do is go over to the dog park, sit there for a while, and see just how noisy it really is, because by and large, it's not. But the thing that I saw that really was surprising, there are benches there and there were people sitting there, and I realized that this is a place for social gathering because the dogs are doing their socialization, but your neighbors are sitting there and they're playing cards, playing checkers or whatever, and they're communicating with each other and enjoying their own social presence. And so it's just not a dog park. It is a social gathering area. And where the dog park, at the fun park, that was one of the first things that this committee was charged with. What should we do with the fun park? As a point of information, there are 4 parks that were here in Gateway. There's Linear Park, which goes under the power lines, which were extremely restricted on just about we can't do anything there. You could walk there, you can bike there. Cannot do any construction. We have the Commons, we have the Fun Park, and we have Sherman Soccer Complex. So the 2 parks that really kind of that we could do stuff in is the Fun Park, which is behind the church, as well as the Commons where the pool is. And so we thought about, well, maybe we'll build Victory Gardens, and we'll rent out land to the community members. If you would like to have a garden, we'll provide some space. So that was a thought that we had to do there, and still considering it. We were thinking about, well, the sand volleyball, which is underneath the tree, doesn't hardly get used. So, we could relocate that to a more suitable part. And then when I saw what was within the dog park where it was and the value that the land has where it takes up to help with the soccer folks. And by the way, I don't know exactly how much money the soccer fields generate, but it is substantial. Because they're not free, even to the outsiders that come, they're paying a fee to use those soccer parts. And perhaps somebody more knowledgeable about the finances can tell you exactly how much money is generated. But moving the dog park from where it is to the proposed at the fun park, I thought, and the people that used the dog park, by the way, their representative showed up at one of our daytime meetings and endorsed the concept of moving it. They were all in favor of it. But you have to look at it as more than just a dog park. It is also a social gathering venue. And I really would encourage you, go down to the soccer fields, go to the dog park and sit there, and don't criticize things that you personally have not experienced. And it'll really give you a good idea of just how noisy is it or it is not. So thank you for your attention.
Set the next meeting's agenda. Anybody have anything for the next meeting's agenda? No?
At the next
Okay.
meeting, I will make sure I compile what survey data that we do have, and I will bring that in front of you. So I would urge the crowd to please take the survey and give some feedback.
And Daniel,
Go ahead, Chelsea.
also at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, there were some comments also made about this potential moving of the dog park to the fun park. And the board did direct staff as well as the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee to get decibel readings at the dog park and the fun park. So we're working on that. We've got counts because the dog park is fobbed. So we have counts for usage by the half hour. We also have asked the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, like Mr. Lewis was saying, going out and reviewing the existing dog park facilities and their usage and reporting back their findings. So the next Board of Supervisors meeting, they meet the first and third Thursday of every month. So their next meeting is next Thursday at 3 p.m. Again, they have public comments at their meetings as well. I know staff has compiled some of the questions that were asked today. We will work on drafting responses to those. And I will be frank, a lot of the questions that were asked today, we still don't have answers to, specifically with regards to the Commons Park Plan. Again, this is not to be a one and done. The board has made it very clear that this should be a phased approach. We have a budget that we have to stay within. Of course, we're looking at every grant opportunity that is out there. We've got some park impact fee funding that the county has been holding on for the district for quite some time. So as we progress through design, and again, getting feedback and input from the community, today being a perfect example of, hey, maybe we don't want the dog park at the fun park. Maybe that's something we should consider putting at the Commons. That feedback is imperative to the success of what will be potentially the Commons Park Plan. Obviously, the developer a long time ago, when deeding this 15 acres over to the district, the Commons Park parcel was intended for Parks and Rec amenities. The pool has really been the only thing that's been created up there and maintained over the years. So this board, the Board of Supervisors, and the community have raised some concerns and about additional amenities. It's not the intent to duplicate what you have within your own HOA, your private HOAs. So again, we're trying to think outside the box here. You'll notice on that park plan that's laid out in front of you on the table there that there is a lot of green space. So it's not the intent to fill the entire parcel, but perhaps have clean green space. I think Candy mentioned earlier, or one of the other residents, that it's, it's not even really good playable grass out there right now. It's a lot of rocks and old debris. So again, take that survey. I apologize I wasn't there in person. I would love to put names with faces. Our emails are on the district website. Feel free to email myself, Daniel, Carrie, any staff. The PRAC members all have district email addresses now. So we'd love to hear your input. I appreciate your input tonight. We'll work on drafting some of the responses to those questions and try to get that out here in the next week or so. So I really appreciate everybody's time. And it was good to talk to some of you that are online and put names with faces, and we'll keep plugging along and trying to get some answers for you.
Chelsea should answer that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
It was about the timeline for the future of this.
What's the timeline for the projects that we're considering?
Which in particular?
The master park plan.
Phase one?
Okay, so the design team, the board approved the task authorization, I think at either 1 or 2 meetings ago. So they are moving to 30% design, which I would expect to receive in the next couple months. Of course, that 30% design will go in front of the PrAC committee and the Board of Supervisors, but that's a good question that we'll take note and try to get a tentative timeline posted so the community is aware of what's going on.
A better time to be having our meetings so all of you can come back and attend. Because today was the first time we got a lot of good input.
Yeah.
Okay, most of the time, we're just hearing it from whoever walks in the room. And we haven't had a lot of people showing up because of the timing of it. Just- Yeah. Please understand that we're all listening and we did hear a lot of good comments today.
And the next night meeting will be May 21st at night. So we're gonna adjourn the meeting at 7:41. And our next meeting will be next month on the 5th at 1 PM. Correct. At 1. No,
Oh, the next meeting.
our next evening is the May meeting. That's gonna be at 6 o'clock also.
Oh, it was 1:45.
1.
That could be subject.
George will
to
send
change.
out for everybody.
If we bring it
I
up,
don't know
we
off the top of my
could
head. I'd have to
possibly
go back.
change those times.
All right, thank you, everybody.